really excited to have Barbara Leach with us online. She's going to tell us about all the steps you can take to start your very own firm. So Barbara, first off, I want to thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, I am so excited to be here with you, with some of my favorite people, the PracticePanther folks, and talking about something that I love so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And to start things off, I'm going to give everyone a little bio about us. I'm also going to give you a few tips on how to start your own firm based on the hundreds of attorneys I've personally spoken to over the years. And once again on the phone, we have Barbara Leach, so I'm going to pull up her bio real quick. After having the time of her life as an editor on the Florida State Law Review, Barbara graduated and commenced her legal career as an attorney, actually at an Amlaw 60 law firm. Barbara finally loved practicing law when she opened up her very own firm called Barbara Leach Law, which we call Bleach Law. Barbara has a firm mascot as well called her ChiLAWhua, which is her dog you might hear in the background in her office, which she will tell us a lot more about. And the firm recently celebrated its 5th anniversary. The firm loves to help people with all things family, financial, and small business. So Barbara, I have your bio up on the screen. Tell us a bit more about yourself and why you started your own firm.
Well, thanks for that fun intro, David. I started my own firm over 5 years ago after having realized that I did not like working in a big and then even a regional size firm. I like to be the one to have more direct client interaction. I like the chance to be able to hire and fire whatever clients I wanted to. And I liked the opportunity to just be able to help people the way I wanted to, in terms of I get to practice the kind of law that I want to practice. Is it the most lucrative? No, but that's not my goal. My goal is to have a life where I can take tomorrow off to bake cookies for my friends and family, which is what I'm going to do tomorrow.
And you also get to spend time with your dog apparently every day.
Yes, every day. Well, actually, sometimes if I have an early morning hearing, she, quote, works from home. And I come into the office, and Stephanie Gomez, our associate attorney, is like, "Where's Brulé?" I'm like, she's working from home today, you know. So.
Awesome. So give us a little idea of the agenda that we're going to cover today.
Sure. Well, I have it broken down into categories, not very articulately identified: before starting considerations, during the start, and then after you start. So it's kind of like a chronological, or as much as I can be chronological in my ADHD, who's easily distracted by a butterfly and goes off on tangents, fashion. But we're going to talk about the financial issues before and during the start of your firm, and in some ways I think to get some great bang for your buck without having to, donate a kidney. And the importance of identifying your firm philosophy sooner rather than later. And then again, just some practical things that you can sink your teeth into so you can leave here today going, gosh, this was an awesome way to spend my lunch.
Awesome. Very excited. So the first thing we're going to start off with is actually a poll. Do you currently have your own firm? So for everyone tuning in with GoToWebinar, switch to the screen and let's start answering the poll. The answers are yes, you have your own firm, no, or not yet, but hopefully soon. And it looks like the overwhelming majority so far is saying yes. Let's see, it looks like about 70% are saying yes, they do have their own firm. So let's close this poll out and share the results with everyone so they can see it. Okay, so 69%,
awesome.
Yeah. 69% of people listening in right now have their own firms already. So if they're trying to grow their firms, branding, marketing will help them with that. And about 30% don't have their own firms, but 15% says not yet, but hopefully soon. So that's very good. So we'll give you some tips also. All right, so starting it off, tell us step one. What is step one before starting your own firm?
I think step one, this will come naturally to the majority of the people who are listening to this, because as lawyers, we have a propensity to overthink, think, and then finally, as we get ready to do, we have to think again to see if our thinking has changed from the first time we started thinking. So this is step one. I'm actually enabling you to engage in some really thought experiments here. Most importantly, I think it's important to create an inner circle. By the way, these things, we got 1 through 5, they're not in a particular order. I think it's important that you bring people who are close to you into your thought process and your decision making. When I first opened my firm, so when I was contemplating about 5.5 years ago, I actually had 2 guys who weren't even lawyers. One was a banker and one was an investment or venture capitalist, who just happened to be friends of mine. So I had probably 3 of my closest girlfriends and then these 2 guys. And anytime I came up with an idea, I ran it up the flagpole, both from a lawyer perspective and a non-lawyer perspective. So I appointed them to like being part of my inner circle. And I really said, first off, pinky swear with me that you will always be honest. And so literally we did that. And I knew that I could take comfort in what they were sharing. So I got my inner circle, and then for those of you who have family, it's just me and the ChiLAWhua. So and she didn't have a lot of constructive feedback to offer. But I think it's really important to get your family buy-in at the onset. And I also think for those of you, the 33% of you who have not gone out on your own yet, I think it's important for you to paint a bleak picture for your family and your friends and whomever else is going to be in your inner circle or impacted by you going out on your own. Because one of the things that you know as being a successful lawyer is the importance of managing client expectations. Same thing with family and friends. Hey, listen, honey, here's the deal. I'm going to go out on my own, so I'm going to give up my cush salary. We're going to live on your salary, and I'm going to also be expending before I'm bringing in, oh, and I'm going to be working my butt off, so I'll barely see you. Doesn't that sound like a great idea, right? And if you can get buy-in from that crappy scenario, then you are golden. I say it glibly, but I also kind of mean it. 1 and 3 kind of go hand in hand. It's before I opened my firm, I really minimized my expenses. I took on a roommate. I paid off all my credit card debt so that my monthly nut, and I'm just going to be straight up, my monthly expenses, personal expenses, were $2,000 a month. Now, when I first started practicing, my billable hourly rate as a first-year lawyer at this big firm was $265 an hour, which, well, there was no way anyone was going to pay me $265 an hour, because at the time I didn't even know what the hell a summons was when I first started practicing. But I set the realistic expectation that if I could charge clients $200 an hour, and I was a 4th-year attorney by that time, very reasonable billable hourly rate, that all I needed to cover my personal monthly expenses was 10 billable hours a month. Now, to be clear, I should say not 10 billable, I should say 10 collectible. And so those of you who have your own firm, you know there's a hell of a difference between billable and collectible, or collected as the case may be. So, you know, when you put it into that kind of perspective, I did not need a tremendous amount to bring in order to cover my expenses. And then when I ultimately opened my firm, I did it on the economical. My inclination is to say I did it on the cheap, but that doesn't sound good. So I did it economically so that my monthly work nut, that expense was also very, very manageable. I think I was out the door with under $500 a month. So all I needed, was 12.5 billable hours a month, and everything, all of my expenses were covered. The other thing, so I think it's important then, in conjunction with that, to minimize your personal expenses. You can see that I already walked you through what I did for number 3, which was I was conducting a realistic analysis of expenses. So in addition to soliciting feedback from my inner circle, I went out there and I priced a number of office spaces and copiers and malpractice insurance, and I asked friends of mine who have been practicing a little bit longer than I and on their own, I was like, well, what is it that I need versus what do I want? So I was able to rough up a very, very, very rough budget because I'm more of a big picture person. And then that's when I was ready to hit the ground.
Yeah, a lot of attorneys think they need to have an office space in the beginning, but you really don't, correct? You were probably working out of your house in the beginning?
Well, yeah, I got actually I had a 3-year plan. Year 1, I was going to get a virtual office and only rent the conference room as needed. Year 2, I was going to rent an office from the virtual office because I didn't want to change my address. I didn't want to seem like I was the kind of lawyer who was going to move every year, even though I kind of surreptitiously was. And then year 3, I figured that would be the time when I was ready to bring someone on. And at the time, it would have been about $500 a month for me to rent an office from the virtual office place. And so I figured, well, if I need 2 offices, that's about $1,000 a month. Heck, at that point, I might as well go out on my own and get my own branded space. As it turned out, even though I had that plan, I was fortunate enough that I was able to hire someone and go out on my own within the first 6 months of having had my virtual office.
So that means that you were doing pretty well in the first 6 months. Is that because you were spreading the word and getting so many referrals early on?
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that we'll talk about, but to me, you not only do I like to bake cookies, but I love to throw parties. To me, the most important part of me getting my message out there was having a law firm launch party. So while I'm going through the steps of getting incorporated and figuring out a website and what should my URL/email be? I mean, do I just use my first name or do I use my first initial and last name? How do all these things that I was bombarding my inner circle with, I was at the same time planning a party. So I invited God and country to this gig. I created an announcement that said, hey, Barbara Leach is forming Bleach Law. Oh, and by the way, she's going to have this party, this happy hour. Y'all should come. And my goal was to have 30 people there. And I'm sitting around having cocktails one night with some girlfriends. I'm like, okay, so I think if 30 people come, this will be a success. And my best friend, Melanie Griffin, looked at me like I'm crazy, which happens regularly. But she's like, Barb, are you kidding? It's going to be a blowout event. I actually had 225 people come to my office space for a happy hour on a Thursday night 5 years and 1 month ago.
Wow.
I know. Crazy, right? But the reason behind that was because I had really started talking it up and getting people to come. Like, I'd be like, hey, David, did you get my invite? I'd love to have you there. And you're like, oh, I don't know. It's a Thursday night. I'm like, come on, we're going to have Four Rivers barbecue. It's going to be awesome.
You were promoting it like crazy.
Like crazy. And it was from there the firm was born.
Right. Now, let me ask you, so for the 60% of attorneys that have their own firms, if they haven't done a launch party, they could essentially do an anniversary party every year, correct?
You know what? You and I are so simpatico. Yes. By the way, guys, we did not script this, but that is the exact same next thing that I was thinking about.
Okay.
Because I, every year, do a Valentine's party. Please do not do anything during the holiday season. Your friends and clients and referral sources who love you will secretly be unhappy with you because they're like, oh, another party. So try to claim something annual that is unique. Like, I think we just passed National Ice Cream Day recently, or National Cookie Day, or, you know, you could do something for the 4th of July or Halloween. You know, plant your flag on some kind of holiday, or, as you said, David, just make it an anniversary event. Get something started, and listen, the event will be successful if you act like it's successful. So if you're like, I don't even know 200 people, let alone 1,000 that you invited, that's fine. If 10 people had shown up at my party, you can rest assured those 10 people would have had as great a time as the 200 did. So don't engage in negative self-talk or self-doubt and be like, and shoot yourself in the foot before it begins. Or even if you invite 400 people and only 10 show up, who cares about those 390 because they're really missing out of a great opportunity. And you can also believe that those 10 people will go out there and shout from the rooftops how awesome this event was. So when you do it next year, your 10 will multiply to 40, will multiply to 100, will multiply to however many you want there to be ultimately.
Awesome. So I know that you have the next slide is the homework. So I guess even if they have their own firm, this could still definitely apply to them. I know that you've read a lot of these books after you started your firm, correct?
Oh, I read E-Myth beforehand. Thunberg, you guys probably know, is the tome, the Bible, essentially, on opening a law firm. I think that that's most people's go-to. I skimmed it, but I really focused on the E-Myth, which was how to run your firm as a business, not as just being a lawyer, or you focusing on you being a lawyer or you being a business owner, not just you being a lawyer. Now, Gerber has the E-Myth Lawyer. I actually like the E-Myth Revisited because I think it has a little bit more details. The data in there as it relates to the E-Myth Lawyer is not necessary, but the concepts are brilliant. And yeah, even if you have had your firm for a year or two or decades, don't walk to go read that book. It's fantastic.
Awesome. And then there's We Can Go Talk Network. I know your friend Adriana has a podcast there as well, correct?
Yeah, don't be distracted by Adriana's podcast title, New Solo. It's real. She has some amazing speakers on there with some really great novel creative ideas for marketing, firm management, hiring, firing, and the like. It's really appropriate for any solo. I was never a podcast person until like the past couple of years. I'm an old school, love to read books, but it really just became a matter of efficiency. Like when I'm driving to work, I'm able to listen to a podcast, or if I'm driving across the state going to a Florida bar meeting or something, I try to load up on some podcasts that I think that are going to be germane, that even if I just get one or two nuggets from in a 25-minute podcast, I feel like that's time well spent and something that I would not have had otherwise listening to, Britney Spears or something like that.
And I know that the Florida Bar, for Florida Bar attorneys, they have an amazing resource. I mean, a lot of states have this as well. You can go to your local bar website. They have all the resources, tons of webinars, tons of free CLE classes you can go to. So I know that helps as well. Now, what's your last bullet point? You can buy referral sources. What does that mean?
Yeah, I know that sounds kind of crazy, but in terms, just in terms of, sit down. Again, this is before you get started, or even if you're already out there, sit down in a quiet place on a Tuesday night with the lights dimmed, and you've got a lovely frappa mochaccino thing, or if you're like me, you got a glass of wine, let's just be honest, and brainstorm who are your referral sources. Now, at some point in the webinar, we're going to talk about KPI, key performance indicators, and the importance of collecting data. I'm giving you guys an out right now when I say brainstorm who will be your referral sources. At some point, you should be able to sort an Excel spreadsheet or click a button in, say, like a practice management software. I'm sure PracticePanther allows you to capture referral sources as a custom field, and you can run a report so that you know at any given time who your current referrals are. But if you don't have any clients yet, you don't have any referrals yet, so you want to strategize who's on Team Barb, who's Go Pro Bleach Law that I can really take to lunch and say, by the way, David, I'm so excited that I'm opening my own firm, and I'm hoping, we've been close enough. I've supported you in all your undertakings that if you have somebody who needs a family law client, that you'll think of me. So gather that information and then strategically implement conversations with those people who will ultimately, you think, serve as your referral sources. Oh, and as far as the buying them goes, that's talking about like Avo or legal, Zoom, FindLaw, yeah, all those kind of things. What I say is, when you're first getting started, I did not have a ton of money for marketing. In fact, the majority of my practice is referral based. But what you really need to do is, if you're going to invest some money, do a discrete small amount for a minimum of 3 to 6 months and track the return on investment for that. So if somebody comes into your office, hey, where did you get my name? Oh, I got it from the internet. Well, chances are good that if you're only listing yourself in one source on the internet, like on FindLaw or Avo, then when they say, quote, the internet, they mean one of those sources. So you can start to see what is the return on investment for what I'm doing there.
Exactly. And that's very important that I always advocate as well. You know, they have to be everywhere. Someone's searching for a family lawyer in Orlando, Florida. You should be in Google. You should be in Google Ads. You should be in Google Places. You should be on Avo. You should be everywhere. Wherever they can find you, the more they can find you, the better. Now, one thing that people don't get is that on Avo or FindLaw, there's like hundreds of attorneys on those directories. You're just one of 100. But the ones in the top 5 that have the most reviews and the highest score and rating, those are the ones that get majority of the business. So instead of spreading yourself thin across 20 directories, focus really hard on one and focus all your efforts on getting reviews on one. So that one will bring you a lot of leads and you will be top 5 hopefully in that directory. That will help you a lot. Now, I know a lot of, we're going to do a poll here. I know a lot of people don't start a firm because they have a lot of fears, obviously. So I want everyone to even answer this question. So everyone pull up your screens, go to the webinar page, and we're going to launch this poll right now. Even for people that have their own firms, before launching your own firm, what was your biggest fear? Now, this is multiple choice. You could answer multiple questions of what you feared. So, you know, go to the GoToWebinar poll and start answering. You know, answer 1 is you feared not making a steady salary. That's obviously a big one for people, losing that comfort zone that you have right now. Fear number 2, finding new clients. It's always very hard to get new clients. Number 3, not having a colleague to ask questions like you did in your previous job or your previous firm. Or number 4, not having enough experience to start your own firm, which could lead to a bar complaint if you mess something up. And then number 5, I already have my own firm, I'm fearless. I'm sure a lot of you are going to be clicking that. So far it looks like majority of people are going with the first 2 options. Let's close this poll and share the results with everyone. So number 1, fear, not making a steady salary. Obviously, the job security is a big one. Number 2, finding new clients. So we're going to shed some light in future slides on how to get those new clients like we've been doing. And Barbara, I know this is a big one for you, not having a colleague to ask questions. But there are ways you could work around all of these things. So I know, Barbara, on the next slide, you're going to kind of take us through them and how they can get past all of these things, correct?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead.
So I want to jump ahead. Really, I'm so non-sequential. So if ultimately David and his brilliance and I tagging along do not convince you to take the leap and go out on your own, what I want you to do at the very least is to continue building your brand. Because if you've decided that right now is not the time for you because, gosh, I got to pay off that student loan debt, or, you know, I'm fixing to get married, or, you know, I've got aging parents and we really need to stay close to home for them for some time. If now is not the time, the very fact that you're on this webinar suggests to me that sometime will be the time. And one of the biggest things that I think was a turning point for me when I went from a firm to starting my own firm was recognizing that unconsciously I had still been building my brand even when I was at the firms. So people didn't hire me because I was lawyer at firm X. Ultimately, today, people hire me because I'm Barbara Leach. And I get invited to do stuff with David, such as this, because I'm Barbara Leach, not because I'm Bleach Law. Although, bad example, because they're one and the same. But just remember, even if now's not the time will come. So be conscientious of who you want to become. Who do you want to be perceived as in terms of, we'll talk about that in a minute, in terms of what kind of entity does your firm most want to replicate? So even if you don't have a firm, you'll still think about who you want to be in the future. Now, as it relates to just all of these things are some fear or another. I'm a huge fan of Jason Mraz. Yeah, I'm nerdy and too old to be a real hipster, but you know, love Jason Mraz. And he has this line in one of his songs that says, "Leap and the net will appear." So I love that we had such a high percentage of people who are fearless, but for the rest of us, you know, sometimes it just requires a leap of faith. And I think that when you open it up to your inner circle and family and friends, say, hey, here's what I'm thinking about, you'll be surprised by the enthusiasm and support that people want to shower upon you. And even when you think you suck and you're not going to have a regular salary and who on earth would ever hire you, remember what your friends said and how they were unequivocally behind you, and take comfort in the fact that even if you think you can't do it, there's a whole posse of others who think you can. As it relates to the solitude issue, when I was at a big firm, one of the selling points was, we have 1,000 attorneys, so all you have to do is pick up the phone and get a question answered. Sounds great, right? I mean, they have international authorities on everything. The truth of the matter is, and this is one person's perspective, I never felt more alone in a big firm.
Wow.
For the first 6 months of my firm, well, even before then when I was doing some contract work, I did work from home. And I never felt alone because statistically, smaller firm and solo practitioners bill less than big firm people. And what that equates to is either if it's a choice to focus on something else and not focus on the billing, or whether it's because they can't have it because they don't have the same quantity of clients. I don't know, chicken or egg, I don't care. The takeaway from that, in my perspective, is it's easy for me to call a girlfriend solo practitioner and say, hey, can I pick your brain about something for 15 minutes? And she says yes. And sure, that's 15 minutes she can't ever get back, but it's also not 15 minutes she has to make up because she no longer has the same 8-hour-a-day billable hour requirement. So I think I'm painting with a very broad brush here, but I'm going to say it emphatically because I believe it wholeheartedly, that there are people out there who relish the opportunity to collaborate even if they're not in the same firm, and they've built their practice in such a way that they don't have to bill for every particular minute. I spend a lot of time mentoring young lawyers and law students, and I'll go, anybody in Central Florida want to grab coffee and brainstorm with me? Happy to do that. Let's take a walk around my neighborhood for a half an hour. Could I have made money doing that? Sure. Do I want to work 24/7? No. As we started off this webinar, I said, I really enjoy talking about these things, and that's what I want to do. So any excuse to go take that walk and drink that coffee, let's make that happen. And then as far as the costs go, remember, at the very beginning, we talked about managing the family's expectations, trying to keep your expenses down. I'm getting ahead of myself, but one of the things that I think about and talk about a lot is a pipeline of work. You're starting out your own firm. You got 10 hours of work in a day, we'll just say, because we're lawyers, so we work like lunatics anyway. If I'm sitting here in my office and I'm waiting for the phone to ring for people who want to pay me $200, $300, $400 an hour, and that's all I'm holding out for, then sure, I'm not going to have as much money coming in as I would like. When you're first getting started out, either as a lawyer or starting your own firm, check your ego at the door and do some work that's going to bring in some money. Here's what I mean by that. We are not professional knitters. We are not professional cake bakers. So David wants a cookie bouquet from me. I'm not going to give it to him at pennies on the dollar, because once I make those cookies, they're gone. But if I have some colleagues in my community who might need some help, hearing coverage, research done, motions, pleadings drafted, and I'm getting paid less than my billable hourly rate, I'm okay with that. Because unlike those cookies or those blankets that we knit or the cakes that we bake, when I give David his research project where I'm not getting paid what I could have been paid, if it was a client asking for this, I still get to retain both the work product and the knowledge. Yep. So, you know, we're in this for decades. Some people are excited about that, some less so, but the reality of it is until we leave, this is the path that we've taken. So it's a slow accumulation of rocks that build a wall or the foundation for a house that can be ginormous castle or small 2 by 2. It's the house is as big as you want it to be, and everything that you do for a client or a colleague or for pro bono or just because this is an area that tickles your fancy, you don't lose that knowledge. So right. Fill your pipeline with whatever kind of work you can get, because at the end of the day, making $25 an hour to learn is extraordinary. I mean, it's a hell of a lot better to make it $250 an hour to just learn stuff. But you know, that's if $250 an hour is what we were dealing with, we wouldn't have that concern about getting a steady paycheck.
So let me ask you something. So when you were leaving the Amlaw firm that you start your own practice, were you able to take a lot of those clients with you and continue working with them on your own firm?
Not a single one, because
wow.
Well, I mean, like, national banks are not going to hire me, right? Right. At the end of the day, they need to be in a firm of that environment. And I actually, so I went from a big firm to a smaller firm, and then honestly, I said, I'm not lawyering at all. I'm done. Peace out. This is not what I signed up for. And wow. I don't know, maybe it was a midlife crisis because I was 40. I don't know. But I was done. And that lasted for 2 weeks. And then after 2 weeks, I started doing some contract law work for some other friends of mine, just as I just described, you know, making less money, but paying the bills. And it was about 6 months' time of that time period that I realized, hey, I kind of like lawyering when it's on my terms. Right. And then that's when I started thinking, well, maybe I could open my own firm. So no, when I did this, when I looked, or when I left without looking, as the case may be, I didn't have a single client. But wow. I did have a little bit of a pipeline of work where I was doing contract work for some dear friends of mine.
Right, got it. And just for everyone listening, if they're considering leaving their firm to start their own firm, a lot of attorneys I've spoken to personally have said that their company allowed them to take their clients with them because they were working with them the whole way through. So that's something you want to find out, because if you have that, then you automatically have clients you can start off with off of that. Now, I know that the next slide coming up is once someone takes the challenge, they want to go, they want to start their own firm, what's the next steps? So I'll just start off with the first point. For Florida bar members, at least, they offer you a member benefit that they give you one free incorporation. So that will save you at least, $125, whatever it is. So check with your local bar association, and they will have a lot of member benefits, a lot of discounts on software, on incorporating fees, on anything like that. So Barbara, take us to number 2. What kind of law do I want to practice?
I think the other thing that's really cool about what we do as lawyers is if we're problem solvers and data gatherers and information distributors, we can really do whatever the heck we want. So, because if you think about it, we should put this up as a survey. Who went to law school knowing what they wanted to do, or who actually learned something in law school that they're doing now? At some point, we started with nothing and learned a practice area. So if you want to do something completely different, just because you've been an insurance defense attorney for a decade doesn't mean that you have to continue doing that. And that's just not hyperbole. One of my very best friends, Liz McCausland, was a partner in a prestigious insurance defense firm, and said, you know what, I'm done with litigation. And she started a bankruptcy practice. And frankly, I can't imagine two practices that would be more dissimilar. And she rocked it, and she loves it, and she's so happy doing what she's doing. Was there a learning curve? You betcha. But that's okay, because again, this was just a different series of bricks that she was putting into the foundation of building her little legal house. Although it's not so legal, it's actually kind of nice and extraordinary. But if you want to do something different, I want to say now's the time, but that would suggest now's the only time. That's not true, because at the end of this webinar, one of the things I'm going to say is it's just really important to do a self-assessment. So you've had your own firm a couple of years, you're rocking it in the family law, but is that what's making you happy? Joseph Campbell says, follow your bliss. Is this what is giving you your bliss? I think it's important to keep checking that throughout the process, because at the end of the day, you have your own firm, you hate it, who are you going to blame? No one. So let's not ever be in that situation when we're blaming ourselves. Let's figure out what we like to do. So when you think that you're going to go out on your own, don't limit yourself to what you have done. The sky's the limit. What motivates you? And then, what am I going to name myself? Well, ask friends, ask Inner Circle. Here's what I'm thinking of. I did not do BarbaraLeachLaw.com because that's a lot of letters. I wanted to do, at first, I mean, I wish I had a different, right? I wish I had a different last name, because Leach sucks. Pun actually intended there. But Bleach Law sounded so abrasive to me. And I mean, we get a bad enough rap as lawyers as it is. Last thing we need is really for me to demonstrate that we're bloodsuckers. So I went with Barbara Leach Law, not because of my ego, but because it just softened the Leach Law. So, but I got feedback from friends before I made that decision. Then I love number 4. What kind of law firm do you want to build? Remember how I said earlier about, identifying your brand? Remember, you're building your brand. Well, I'm a shopper. And so the way I came up with this analogy is, what kind of retail store do you want to emulate? Like, do you want to be the Walmart? Do you want to have an office in every town where you create essentially a mill firm that makes a ton of money by having to process and handle a ton of different clients? Do you see yourself as a Williams-Sonoma kind of, still a little bit of a chain store, but a very elite kitchen goods store that sells to a specific niche of people? So what kind of store do you like? Do you want to equate yourself to? It's easier too, I think, if you talk in terms of clothing stores. Now, some of the guys on here might be like, snooze. So if that's the case, what kind of hardware store do you want to be? Do you want to be a Home Depot, or do you want to be an Ace Hardware, or do you want to be, I don't know what a fancier hardware store will be beyond that. Either. That's really all I've got. But you know what I'm saying? So think about that. Right. Yes, and who are the people who go into those kind of stores, and are those the kind of people that you want to attract? And then last but not least, figure out your website. Figure it out before you file. You have your law firm launch party, and please, if nothing else, do not get a Gmail account. Please. Technologically or savvy AOL. Lawyers. AOL yes, or Yahoo, or Hotmail. Yeah. People will judge you. And as our society gets younger and younger, and our technology level rises and rises, it's almost inexcusable, it's almost laughable to some of the people out there who would be looking to hire a lawyer who see that that's your email address. And it's not expensive. I mean, it's like $10 a month to have like Microsoft 365 host your email, and then it's really inexpensive. It's like $50, $100 a year to host a website. So it does not have to. When we talked about earlier, champagne, taste, beer budget, your website or your email address is the #1 thing you can do to show the world that you're legit.
Yeah, and just for people listening, if they're looking for that domain name email address, they can, sign up through GoDaddy. They offer that. And then you can also link that to Outlook, for example, or you could use something called Google Business Apps. Google actually gives you that professional email like david@practicepanther.com, for example, that you could also use with Outlook if you want as well. Or you can even log into gmail.com with that email. It all looks exactly like Gmail, but it's actually a david@practicepanther.com email, for example. And that costs $5 a month.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually started using Google Apps for Business when I first opened my firm, but decided that I wanted to go back to an exchange because some of the features that could only be done on an exchange. I almost regret it because you didn't know that I was on a Google platform, but I used Outlook and my email was Barbara at Bleach Law. So it's a fantastic resource, the power of Google, both in terms of just how easy it is, and its security is bar none.
Yeah, bar none,
exactly. That's a really great suggestion, David.
Awesome, thank you.
The other thing here, who are your competitors going to be, real quick? Go to their websites. And I'm not saying who's your competitor today, but who do you ultimately want to be like? If I want to be a family law attorney, who are some of the most well-respected family law attorneys in Central Florida? I'm going to go to their website. I'm going to see what they do, and then ultimately a website comparable to theirs, an amalgam of all of their websites is where I want to see myself. Am I going to have, a 75-page website when I first get started? No, but I might, as Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind and know that that's where I'm heading. And the most important right now, these are the 5 or 10 most important pages. This is what I'm going to emulate to create my website when I first get started.
Yep, good advice. And so this is what I just threw in myself. I found this in Florida Bar Member Benefits. So if you were looking to incorporate for free in Florida at least, they have a 100% discount coupon code, FL Bar Member, and you can go to corporatecreations.com or corpcreations.com and get that. So this is one of my favorite slides you put in here, Barbara. So this is one that I can help you contribute with a lot. So start this one off.
Please talk about it. No, you talk about why you loved it. Please tell me why I'm awesome.
Okay, so you are awesome because, like you said, it all comes back down to branding. So I know a lot of attorneys listening that already have their own firms are looking for some tips and advice on branding. So the first thing is you have to get your message across. They have to look exactly the same across every social media platform. Your website has to look the same as your Facebook header photo, the same as Twitter cover photo, the same as your Instagram profile photo. They all have to look the same. The same as your YouTube channel photo. It has to be one image, one look, one clear message for that attorney across the board. So if Barbara is focusing on, I'm the personal attorney you can call, you'll have my cell phone. That's me. I don't do 4,000 cases. I do a few cases only that I can handle. So her message would be the neighborhood family attorney that you can call at any time. And that clear message has to be displayed across all your social media. So everyone knows that's Barbara. Now, logo. Really important. So Barbara put up 99 designs. We actually used that website to make the logo for PracticePanther and a lot of other companies that we used to have. So 99 Designs is a great website where you can pay $300, $500, $1,000, whatever it is. And basically they have tons of designers that will bid for your logo. So for $500, for example, you might have 30 designers that will give you 200 different ideas you never thought about for your logo. So that's amazing. You can get it done within 7 days. A logo in 7 days is really fast, and you'll be really happy with it. I remember we weren't so happy. They extended our competition even longer until we were happy. So they're a really great company. If you're looking more for the super fast, super cheap side, you can go with Fiverr.com. I wouldn't recommend it because you're going to get a $5 logo. And like Barbara said, your brand, your image is so important. That goes across everywhere, your website, your business cards. I go to a lot of conventions, and when an attorney hands me a business card that is one-sided and the other side says, made for free on vistaprint.com, and it's super cheap cardstock, I'm like, man, come on. You can do $30 for 1,000 business cards. Get some nice cards. Like, this is the kind of impression you're putting out there. What are clients supposed to think of you? Now, Barbara, what is interview printers? What is that?
It actually belongs on under number 8, meaning it's really important for you to have specific professionals in your life. And even if you don't need or want an accountant or a payroll specialist when you're first getting started, if you don't want to have a relationship with a graphics artist or a printer, you need to know these people and forge relationships with somebody that you can trust. So when the time comes, you know who to go to. You don't want if you think about, I don't know if any of you guys are surfers. I'm not, but I grew up in Daytona Beach, and so I, would float on rafts a lot. And excuse me. And the key to catching a wave is to get it right before it breaks. If it breaks, it's too late. You're just, coughing up salt water. So you want to have accountants and an accountant and your payroll people in place before you need them. Same thing with the printers. Like everything, the thing that I spent the most money on when I started my firm was my logo and my business cards and my note cards, because I love to send people personalized note cards. So it was a pain in the butt to find the printer to do it. But I got a great relationship with a great printer now, so whenever I need to reorder something, or if I want a specialty card printed or some kind of promotional product, it is so easy for me just to pick up the phone and say, hey, Heather, here's what I want to do. What are your thoughts? How can we make that happen? I don't have to shop around. I don't have to waste precious time to start the relationship when I know that I need T-shirts done 2 weeks from now.
Exactly. And one thing to add to this list as well, there's a website called Upwork.com. Many people have heard of Freelance.com, Elance.com, Odesk.com. So Upwork pretty much bought them all and consolidated them all. So pretty much anything you're looking for, a logo, a website design, a graphic designer, literally anything, you can go on Upwork.com and you can find really talented freelancers around the world that can do amazing work for you at a fraction of the cost you might pay locally. So that's also a really good resource you can look into as well. And
did you say Upward?
Upwork, U-P, like
Upwork.
Up, going up, and then work, W-O-R-K. Yeah, Upwork.com.
Love that.
Great website. Yeah, they're an amazing website. So, and then number 9, don't need. So like Barbara said in the beginning, you don't need to go crazy, get a fancy $2,000 copy machine or printer or new furniture or Class A office space. You can do a lot of the things yourself at your own home in the beginning. Unless you really need to meet with clients, then you can rent office space. You can rent conference room until you grow. So what I liked about your story, Barbara, is that you had a long-term plan, but then, things went amazing. You're like, wow, I started growing faster than I could imagine. So then you started, moving that plan forward a lot quicker, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. So that's what people should do in the beginning when they're starting off. Keep expenses low and then grow as you're making more money. And then this is what Barbara said before, continuation, have a law firm launch party. And Barbara, talk to us a little bit about malpractice insurance. Did you get that right away as soon as you opened your own firm?
I did it before I opened my own firm. I mean, that was like one of the first things that I stroked a check for, was getting malpractice insurance. Obviously, Flemic, through the Florida Lawyers Mutuals Insurance Company, is a spinoff of the Florida Bar, and does a lot to support lawyers and the Florida Bar. So I encourage you, when you're looking at potential malpractice insurance coverage, take a look at them, talk to them. It's from lawyers, for lawyers, by lawyers. I don't know, they probably have a much better way to describe themselves. But don't buy the cheapest, don't price shop. Just like you should never have the cheapest car insurance, because it's going to come back and bite you in the ass. Same thing can happen with malpractice insurance. And sit down and talk to an agent or agents and say, hey, so I was listening to this crazy girl on this webinar, and she was talking about the importance of tail insurance. What the hell is that? Have these conversations. I'm not going to beleaguer the party right now, because I can't speak articulately about that, but I don't need to, because I know I'm taken care of by my insurance carrier.
Right. Awesome. Okay, good. And then as far as accountants, you say interview accountants. Now, one thing I always recommend in the beginning, at the end of the year, you're going to have to do your payroll, and you're going to have to, your accounting, for taxes. That's coming up soon. QuickBooks, it's just such an easy software. It's so easy to use. They make it so easy these days to sign up. They have, I think, 70% off for the holidays now for your first 6 months. It's like $10 a month. QuickBooks Online, no software needed. It automatically syncs with your bank account and syncs your expenses and automatically categorizes them for you. So at the end of the year, it's one click. Your accountant loves QuickBooks. They don't want to use or pull reports from any other software, including ours. Trust me, they want QuickBooks. It's all they want. It's so easy for them. They can even log into your QuickBooks account and get everything from you. So get QuickBooks.
Now
I highly recommend it. Yeah.
That's a really great point, David, and actually goes into number 13, because if I was sitting on this webinar before I opened my firm, I would identify QuickBooks and practice management software as things that I don't need. Like, I don't need that to get started. But again, here's good old Stephen Covey. You will at some point. And remember I said, get ahead of the wave. What you don't want is to be like, holy crap, my practice has exploded. I've got 3 contract attorneys doing different stuff for me, and now I've hired an associate or I've hired a paralegal. I can't keep all this in my head or in my Excel spreadsheets. I need some way to organize this. So practice management software is the best way to do it. But the wave will break all over you if you're now running a busy practice and trying to integrate practice management software into your life. So there are a lot of great ones out there. This is not a plug for PracticePanther, but it is a fantastic product. And what's really cool about it, and others in complete candor, is they can grow with you. So it's not expensive. Like, how much is PracticePanther for one user?
$49 a month.
Yeah. I mean, that is not a lot. It's almost like another insurance issue. It's for the insurance that you will have to get it in place to work out the kinks of how you want to build your business and what the procedures and practices and policies of your business become. You want to start that from day one in general, let alone how you're going to manage cases. But it's also a work in progress, and I bet half the people on here who said they've had a firm for some time are doing things a lot differently than when they first started. It's an evolution. So hit the ground running with some kind of practice management software, because it's only going to help you. Just same thing applies to QuickBooks. I was on as a little bit of an aside, but justification for that comment is I was on a panel recently where they said, what's the one thing that you wish that you had done differently? And the only thing that I could think of, honestly, is I wish that I had gotten practice management software sooner. I waited till I was about 2 years into my practice. But other than that, I mean, I'm happy, and both in terms of my stumbles and my challenges and my falls and my successes, I'm happy how everything has gone the past 5 years. But honestly, that's the one thing that I would have changed.
It's so funny. When I spoke to a lot of friends, my inner circle as well, a lot of friends that started their own firms later on in life, and the one thing they kept telling me is, oh my God, I'm 5 years into it. It was so hard to grow, and I was using Word and Excel, and I wish I used the software earlier. And that's the problem. You're years into it, and now you have to start putting old information in. So they all regret not using it early enough, like you said. I mean, this is the only side I have on practice management software in this whole thing. So just to tell people how much time they could save so they can understand it. People that we speak to that don't use the software, how are they tracking time? They're doing it with a notepad and pen, Post-it notes. At the end of the month, they have to manually add everything up in Excel, summarize it, move it over to a Word document or a Word invoice template, save it as a PDF, email it to their customer, follow up manually with their customer. It's a really tedious process. Whenever we ask people how long it takes them to invoice a month this way, oh, one full day, maybe a weekend. And it's like, wow, that's 8 hours of your billable time that you could have made $2,000 on. It's just crazy how much people waste doing things manually, because that's how they've always been doing it. So if they could save you, a few hours of billable time a month, or our software, for example, sends automated payment reminders. Like you said, it's really hard to collect your money after you bill. So we automate that process for you. If it only saves you one client, one invoice, one payment, or even 1 hour a month, it will pay itself off for months or years to come. It's only that one time that you're looking for to save you. That's my take on it, at least. So let's go to the next one. Next slide, during starting. All right, so how do you fill your pipeline with work when you first start off, Barbara?
Well, this is really intended to be that whole check your ego at the door and do whatever it takes at whatever pay rate. But it kind of goes to what we didn't address in terms of people's concerns about getting clients. And I think it's just a matter of, Dave and I talk with regularity about Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's all about the hustle. He's out there. If you're not familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk, hashtag #AskGaryV, go to YouTube, Google him, and watch some of his videos. He's really inspiring and motivating and high energy, so don't drink caffeine while you're watching him. Or maybe you do need caffeine, I don't know. Do either and report back, let us know. But the idea is, until you're turning away clients, which, by the way, we should never do, if we're at the point where we're turning away clients, we need to get more people working with us, either assistants or paralegals or lawyers, whatever. We should be expanding, not contracting. But the way to fill that pipeline is to get out there and to get involved, make your presence known. We talked about how you can increase your online presence, but obviously I have bias. There is nothing to me that surpasses the physical presence of getting involved. And I have a rule of 3 that you want to cover all bases. You want to be involved in a professional legal organization. If you're a plumber, I'd say get involved in a plumber organization, because the majority of my referrals actually come from other lawyers who don't practice what I do. And then 2, a philanthropic organization. I had a professor who died from Lou Gehrig's, so I was involved in the ALS organization for a long time. Yeah, it sucked, but and then I was also involved in local community theater. So those ultimately became referral sources to me. And then also, so that's the second arm of the triumvirate. And then the third would be either a political or a religious organization. So spread out your marketing and networking and meeting people into 3 different organizations. And then also, you can, if you have more time after you're doing that, volunteer through any of those endeavors, because that's also, you're going to meet like-minded people. And who do people want to hire? Someone they like. Who do people like? People who do the same things they do.
Yeah. Now, Barbara, I know that a lot of attorneys go to BNI, the networking group that's international. They get a lot of leads from there. Have you ever done BNI? You recommend it?
I have not.
Okay.
I think it'd be great, but I mean, it's a weekly commitment, right?
Yeah, at 7 a.m. Yeah, it's not easy.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why. But I know a lot of friends that get a lot of referrals from BNI. It's very good for them. So the homework, all right, watch YouTube. So here's your homework for everyone. Even if you have your own firm or don't have your own firm, I definitely agree with Barbara on watching YouTube videos of Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. This guy is amazing. He's going to teach you a lot about marketing and branding and getting out there and networking. And, it's funny, number 2 is an incredible book. So everyone who's watching, come to this slide, come back in focus, and take a picture, screenshot of this book, go buy it on Amazon. It is a great book, How to Become a Rainmaker by Jeffrey Fox. Barbara, when I met you, ABA Texture last year, you recommended that book to me, and I read it and bought it for a few people in our company, actually. It is a great book. There's no fluff. It's just bullet points, straight to the point, quotes. You're going to get a lot out of it. It's a really easy read. Also, I think I finished it in 2 hours. I don't know about numbers 3 and 4, so cover that for us.
Never Eat Alone is just a philosophy of social networking and making your life be part of your work. And so many times we talk about work-life balance and wanting to keep a distinction between the two. To me, my friends are my life, and most of my friends are lawyers who I encounter on a professional basis with regularity. So it's a great concept about the importance of building relationships and breaking down walls between you and people professionally. And then, and step 1 homework is, who do you think will be your referral sources? Now, we've got some clients in the pipeline. We've gotten some cases referred. Who are these people who have referred work to us? And is there anything similar about them? Are you doing bankruptcy work and you've gotten several accountants who have referred clients to you? If so, you're already successful unintentionally.
Yep.
Let's go to meet some other accountants with intention. Once we have the data, then we can react to it and proactively plot what we're going to do.
Exactly. Very good. And then tell us a little bit about after you start. This will apply to the 70% who already have their own firms as well.
Yeah. So again, the nurture your business owner role. Don't get stuck just lawyering. You're more than a lawyer. You are a small business owner. If you just spend your day lawyering, go back and read that Michael Gerber book about the E-Myth. By the way, E-Myth stands for entrepreneur, not electronic. And then speaking of electronic, embrace technology. You know, we all want to work smarter, not harder. Well, the way to do that, and frankly, the way to set yourself apart from your competition is to do whatever you can through technology to make your life easier. Now we know the Florida Bar is the first state that has ever approved a requirement for technology CLE. So we from the top down recognize the importance of this. Generally, hire slowly, fire quickly. It's important to have people in your pipeline before you need them. I mean, the same thing that I said about accountants applies to law clerks, assistants, associate attorneys. Know people. So when it's time to hire, you've already started vetting them. You're not just placing an ad on Monster or Craigslist. You know people from interacting with them in the community. And then if things aren't working out, listen, I've been doing family law for 5 years now. Things rarely get better in relationships, whether that's a husband, wife, you know, two lovers, or if it's an employer, employee. Things rarely get better. So if things are going on the downhill, then hire slowly, but fire quickly. Move on.
Yep. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because a lot of times we'll get resumes from friends or family or anyone sending us random resumes, even though we're not hiring for that position now. But if they're a rock star, we bring them in for an interview, we meet them, and we're like, all right, listen, you're awesome. We're probably going to be hiring for this position in a few months, so let's keep in touch. And when that position opens up, we already have not tons, but like a few hand-selected really good people ready to go. So it's the same for attorneys. They can find those paralegals early on, and when they finally need them, they'll be readily available. Hopefully they'll be available, or they can recommend you to other rock stars. So I know we spoke about meeting at the tech show. So the next one is coming up soon. I know that you're part of the board of these shows, correct?
Well, yeah. So part of my getting involved on a professional level started locally. I'm the prior president of the Central Florida Association for Women Lawyers, and then I was also part of the inaugural class of the Florida Bar Leadership Academy. So after really embracing Central Florida, I kind of took my show on the statewide level tour, and so I'm now involved in the Florida Bar. I'm on the Solo Small Firm Section Executive Council, which if you really want your voice to be heard, I encourage you to join the Solo Small Firm Section. It's a really great group of people who are all like-minded, even if we do have different practice areas. So I'm the co-chair for the 2017 Florida Bar Tech Show, and then which is going to be in Orlando, and it's going to have some really amazing speakers, if I may say so. I'm not sure if that's appropriate because I'm one of them, but it's a really wonderful 2-day local event. And then when you're ready to really embrace technology on steroids, go to the ABA Tech Show. It is the largest legal technology conference in the United States, if not the world. We just celebrated our 30th anniversary. Last year, Adriana Linares is the chair. I'm on the planning board, and I can tell you it is going to be extraordinary. It is 3 days of nonstop technology that just wandering the vendor hall alone is just going to improve your practice and make you more profitable.
Yeah, it's a great show. I've been going for 2 years already, and the ABA Tech Show is amazing. For anyone looking to get all their CLE credits in one shot, and it's a deductible business expense for the year, And you can learn so much about technology while other attorneys are doing the ABA Tech Show. For sure, I recommend it highly. And if you're in Florida, Florida Bar Tech Show is also great. We've been there for now 2 years in a row now, so it's also a good show. And just to go back one slide of what you were saying, the Florida Bar now requires a technology CLE credit. A lot of states also require CLE credit from some of them. So PracticePanther has been approved recently for technology CLE credit. I know that we did one for CFAL actually for your organization, Barbara. So if anyone needs technology CLE credit or general CLE credit, you can just email me, david@practicepanther.com, and I will give you a link to watch a recorded webinar that is approved by the Florida Bar for CLE credit. And they also offer reciprocity to other states as well that you can get it. So I think this might be, there's 2 more slides left. So let's talk about the last homework and what a KPI is.
So KPI is key performance indicator, and it's really drilling down into the numbers in the data. Say you're like me and you do both family law and consumer bankruptcy. Well, I charge more money for a family law case just because of the nature and longevity of that than I do a bankruptcy case. But that doesn't mean that my family law case is more profitable. So again, we can't assess profitability until we have collected data. So how many hours did I spend on a family law case? What was my billable hourly rate? How much was I having to pay to other team members to do this? Comparing all that to comparing the same breakdown with bankruptcy. And don't lose sight of what's the cost to bring that client in the door. Do I pay $75 a month per lead, which I think is actually a no-no in the Florida Bar, so research those advertising and partnership rules. But that cost of bringing the client in the door has to be included when you're analyzing the cost or the profitability of that particular practice area. So again, it's more sophisticated, more nuanced analysis that I think that David should really have a webinar on that sometime, because it's mind-boggling and mind-blowing, and it's really exciting when you think of how you can use the data that's just sitting around. Also, start refining your pipeline. So remember, last slide, check your ego, do whatever you can. Well, now we're at the point where, okay, I don't need to do this discounted contract work because my time is better spent either on clients who are willing to pay me $200 an hour, or I could do an hour's worth of research for attorney X, or I could go to this lunch where I'm going to meet an accountant who might ultimately refer business. Obviously, doing the research is going to bring more money in the door right now, but that might not be the most important need. Ostensibly, we're satisfying our monthly nut. We've got profit coming in, so we don't have to worry about just paying our bills. Now we can plan some long-term strategic return on investment. Like me going to lunch with that accountant isn't going to be dollars in my pocket tomorrow, but maybe it will be a few months down the road. And then our self-check. We were dreaming, what do we want to do? Again, I said this beginning, now we're at the point, do you like what you're doing? Because if you don't, change it. You're in charge. This is your destiny. This is your story. Let's write it how we want. And then we talked about who should our referral sources be, who are our referral sources, and finally, who do you want to be your referral sources? Let's go out and meet some influential people that we've identified in the community that you want their kind of clients in your life. Now, that doesn't mean you walk up to random people and say, hey, I want you to send me business. Again, to go with the Gary Vaynerchuk, he talks about in his book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. Give, 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 ask. Keith Ferrazzi talking about, never eat alone. Part of establishing a relationship is giving to that relationship before seeking some kind of return on that investment. So don't walk up to these people who, if you've identified as rockstar referral sources, you can rest assured others have as well, and they're used to being bombarded. Go be their friend. Go help them, and then they'll see your worth and perhaps start sending stuff in your direction.
Awesome. And just to clarify it, so for the KPIs, so this is really, really important for attorneys. I don't think they realize how important this is. But the funniest thing is when we talk to a lot of attorneys, we ask them, oh, where do you get most of your leads from, most of your clients from? Oh, word of mouth is the number one answer. And when we talk to really successful, bigger firms, oh, we advertise on the radio, we advertise on TV, we have ads, we have Google ads, we have Facebook ads, we have, we're on Amlaw, we're on ChiLAWhua, we're on the radio, we're everywhere. So that's the one thing I've noticed the most from the successful, really bigger firms. They're advertising everywhere and they're tracking their results. That's the most important thing to them. So if you advertise, you need to track the results. I think a lot of attorneys are so afraid to advertise because they feel like they're just blowing money away, they're locked into a contract, and they can't track the results. Well, if you're going to advertise anywhere, my recommendation, try everything once for 1 month, for 3 months. Make sure you don't fall too much into a pit of just pouring money away, but try everything and track the results as careful as possible and keep the best sources that bring you the most money. Now, I know a lot of people listening do use PracticePanther. They use our software. So if you're listening and use our software, the easiest thing you can do is use an intake form whenever someone is coming to you or needs your help, and ask them, put on the form a question, where did you find us? Where did you hear about us? And give them options. Avo, Google Ads, Facebook, a friend. You'll give them all the options so it makes it easier for them. Now, there's also a feature in our software called tags. Every time someone gets added into our software, PracticePanther, you can tag them of where they came from. So Facebook, Google, Avo, whatever it is. Now, the cool thing is, every month, or every day, every week, every year, you can run a report and you can click on that tag and say, I want to see all the clients I ever got from Avo in this date range. Now, what is that going to do? It's going to tell you, oh, you got 10 leads, and out of those 10 leads, you made $3,000 so far. And that's how you compare the results with how much you spent on Avo. So you know if it's worth it or not. Now, Barbara, what you were saying before was a lot of attorneys practice a lot of different areas, and we see that a lot. You go to a typical lawyer's website, they have 20 different practice areas. So another thing you can do in our software, for example, every type of case, every matter you get, you can also tag that. This is a family law matter. This is a bankruptcy matter. So at the end of the year, or whenever you want, you could run a report to say how many family law cases did I have, how much time did I track on those cases, how much money did I make on those cases. So at the end of the year, you can look back and say, wow, really, bankruptcy really wasn't worth it for me. I thought I was making more money, but it turns out I'm not. I'm not even getting paid a lot, so I'm not going to do bankruptcy anymore. So knowing your numbers is really important, and it's really easy to track it these days using technology. All right, and I think
that's brilliant.
Thank you. And I think our last slide is just a continuation. It's a really good resource guide. So for everyone that has this in their background, switch to the screen right now where you can see the video, and you definitely want to write down these links and go to them afterwards. There are free resources that we put together on how to start your own firm, or even if you have your own firm already, how to build an amazing website, how to design an amazing business card, how to get a virtual receptionist, really good tips and links of actually where to go to find them, but also videos as well. And we also put together, our marketing director, Saul, put together an amazing resource on how to get clients. So I'm just going to actually pop this up on your screen right now. Hopefully you guys can see this. Yep. So this is the first resource, how to start your own firm. It's a checklist, and it goes through building a website, getting traffic to your site, converting more people that come to your site. So you might have 100 people a month that come to your site, but only one submitted a lead, a contact form. So how to get more people to do that. How to design a logo, business cards, email campaigns, phone numbers, starting a blog. All of this is covered here. And there's really easy videos, 3 minutes long each, and links to how to do everything. And then Saul put together this amazing resource, how to get clients. And it's an amazing guide of landing your first clients, networking, partnerships, referrals, branding, strategies, tactics, scaling your firm. So there's tons of good content here. Just to reiterate what we said, and you can learn a lot from this resource as well. All right, so let's get this out of here now. All right. Now, if you are watching with GoToWebinar, you have on your sidebar handouts. You could download the handout as well. And we'll also link you to these resources. And once again, we want to thank Barbara for joining us today. This is our contact information. Any questions you have, feel free to reach out to both of us, either of us. If you're in Orlando area, like Barbara said, she'll take you out to lunch. You guys can network and brainstorm. She's always willing to meet new people, which I think is amazing. And for everyone listening, this webinar was recorded, so we will email to you if you signed up. Or you can watch it on our YouTube channel, or you can just go to our Facebook page right now. It's being broadcasted live, and you can watch it again. And Barbara, a lot of people don't know what you do full-time, so just quickly let everyone know what you do and how you work together with other attorneys.
I do predominantly family law and consumer bankruptcy and some civil litigation as it comes to representing individuals and small businesses.
Awesome, thank you. And we're going to open it up for questions right now. So right now is the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, use the GoToWebinar sidebar and start sending us some questions. I know we have a few that came in. So I'll start off with the first one that came in by email from Jessica. She asked, how did you build your website at first? Did you do it yourself for free, or did you do it with the company? So Barbara, any advice?
For my first 2 years, I had a web page. And friends would be like, hey, Barb, something's wrong with your website. I can't click on any of the tabs. I'm like, oh, no, my web page is fine. I don't recommend that because people really expect more than just a web page. Yes. When it finally became time for me to set up my website, I actually just use oneand1.com. That's the number one, the word and, the number one.com. And it's one of those things where they have templates, and the pricing is very reasonable, and it's very easy to set it up. I'm all about delegation, so I actually had a law clerk who went through and started putting in some pictures and putting in some content on the website. I just gave her the thumbs up, but she made that all happen. Very easy, very inexpensive. I didn't spend, well, anything other than the law clerk's time doing it.
Awesome, good advice. And just for people listening as well, so in that resource that we gave you on our website, it gives you a step-by-step guide of how to build your own really beautiful website based off really nice, clean website templates powered by WordPress. You can go buy a template yourself for $60, hire a web designer on Upwork for $200–300, and for $300, you have a beautifully designed WordPress template that you can do yourself in under 2 weeks. So it doesn't cost thousands of dollars anymore. All you have to do is know how to do it. Now, we have a lot of more comments and questions that came in. So the first one comes from Travis, who said Foonberg also did a book with audio tapes called How to Get and Keep Good Clients, and it is excellent. Have you ever heard of that one, Barbara?
No, but I am totally going to go buy that as soon as possible because I love reading. And thank you, Travis, for sharing that. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Awesome. And the next question comes, I think, from Bajit. It says, can we have a copy of the poll results? So all you need to do is just go on Facebook, watch the video, go back to the first few minutes in, and you'll be able to see all the poll results that were posted. And Cheryl said, just an FYI, another tip, be sure that people can actually spell your name without too many misspellings. And that's a really, really good one because someone one time gave me their website name, and I'm like, I don't even know how to spell that. So if it's really complicated, what I would suggest is buying all the different variations and names on GoDaddy or whatever you use. So you have that.
Brilliant.
And number two, just don't have your name in your website. Do something like Bleach Law, which is really easy. Everyone knows how to spell bleach. So that's a very simple way you can do that as well. Walden said, Barbara, excellent. Oh, I lost that. Let's see. Excellent seminar. Wish I could have spoken to you 6 years ago when I launched. I'm an employment practitioner and would like to speak with you further. How can I get in touch? So, Walden, you have Barbara's email and personal phone number on the screen. Feel free to reach out anytime. She's more than happy to help. And also, Cheryl gave another tip. 99 Designs is great, but if you're in a smaller community, don't overlook local talent. That's great as well. There's so many talented people in your neighborhood. You can just go to their house or office and you can do things like that. And they can also be, like she mentioned, a great referral source for you in the future. Steve asked, do you know anything about Django Mail? I never heard about that. Have you?
No, but I'm intrigued.
Sure. Okay, yeah. Well, I guess we'll look into it afterwards. And if anyone has heard of Django Mail, feel free to comment. And David,
share us. Share with us.
Yeah, let us know. And Walden asked, David, regarding KPIs, will PracticePanther be expanding the amount and types of reports available soon? So we have all of these reports already built in. It's It just takes a little bit of customization to learn how to use them properly. So just contact our support team, and we'll show you how to create custom reports and use the filters and columns and groupings. There's a lot of really cool advanced tricks we can show you all. And let's see, Baljit asked, what are the top 5 problems running a law firm? So Barbara, any advice?
Time management.
Yeah.
Number 1, time management. Using, it's very easy for us to do what we want to do, which is not necessarily the things we should be doing, particularly when you are in charge. It's easy. People aren't going to say, hey, where is that motion for summary judgment that other than the client? And if the client's making that question, you've already failed. So time management. 2, I think, gosh, well, I think time management is really the number biggest challenge. 2, actually number 2, assembling a team. I'm a small shop. I have an associate attorney, Stephanie, and a paralegal, Maricela. Maricela and I will have been together 5 years in February.
Wow.
And I was nervous bringing in, and she's never called in sick. Can you believe that? It's remarkable. Wow. I say regularly, I'm like, thank God I'm the boss, because if you were the boss, you would fire me. And she laughs, but she never disagrees with me. So, when we brought Steph on, we were very concerned about how would this new person fit into our dynamic. So, we struck gold when Steph joined the team because she's extraordinary. And I'm telling you, I try to work from home periodically, and I think they're happier when I'm not here because I'm a disruptive force who tries to get them off track. And they're like, Barb, isn't it time you're going home? I'm like, I try not to take it personally, but I don't know how else to take it. So I think, assembling a good team is important. Number 3, this is a good one. This is a really good one. Know when to fire clients. Yes. Just because somebody, the easy thing is, they stopped paying me, right? Well, the harder thing is they're paying me, but they're a big pain in the butt. And then the hardest thing is they're not paying me, but my heart goes out to them. So it's really important that you have someone who can talk you off of the sympathetic, heart-wrenching ledge, who can come in and say objectively, no, that person's got to go, and meaning the client. And sometimes it's a matter of, you created the inner circle when you first opened the firm. Keep people close so that you can bounce these off of them, and they'd be like, Barb, that woman is causing you more stress than you need. Isn't that why you got out of Big Law? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And wouldn't you be happier if she or he wasn't your client? Yeah, you're right. Then what's the only option? Yeah, you're right. So I think that is knowing when to fire clients is important. And then last, and this revolves around people, either yourself or others. I think knowing when to expand the team. I'm a huge proponent in getting someone on board before you need them, because to have a successful team, you've got to invest in mentoring and helping those team members understand the firm philosophy and the procedures. And how many times have we said, oh my gosh, I can't do it. I can't show you how to do it. I don't have time to teach you. It's just easier if I do it. Fail. That's a huge fail if that expression ever comes out of your mouth. And the fact that you're at that point means that you should have brought someone on board to help you weeks ago. Now, this someone, quote, we're bringing on board can be something as similar as a contract person. It doesn't have to be a contract lawyer. Like right now, I'm trying to get some cookies baked and mailed out to some friends. Well, it is not my highest and best use of my time to stuff cookies in envelopes and label them. So I have a girlfriend who I know is looking for work, and so I was like, hey, do you have any interest in doing this for me, this contract basis? I'll pay you X number of dollars. I get it if this is beneath you because you're sophisticated paralegal. But if you want something to do and you want some money, here's this opportunity. No skin off my nose if you say no. She jumped at it. She's really excited. We're going to be cookie fanatics starting tomorrow. So
I
that's
can't wait to get
4,
that
but I
cookie.
think that's good enough.
Yeah, awesome. And then you were saying earlier that, hiring Stephanie was like gold to you guys, and you would have never known it until you made that jump. So on Facebook, we had some comments that came in also. I think it's pronounced Navin. He said, good accountants and paralegals are worth their weight in gold, just like you said. And so thank you. I appreciate that comment. And Michelle Christine wrote, excellent presentation. Thank you so much. And Zazu Nominee, it looks like a company, said, great presentation, worthwhile material. Thank you so much. Now, one of the last few questions we have, let's see what we have here. I know we answered this earlier. Do you recommend getting an office, a shared space like Regis, or just working from home? I'm trying to keep my overhead down. That one came from Albert. So I know that you said, Barbara, that, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm jumping right over you. I'm sorry, David, since this is actually your webinar, but it's not going to stop me. I did not use Regis when I was first looking because Regis wouldn't give me my phone number when I left. And to me, my email address and my phone numbers were crucial. I know. I was like, what? And I mean, obviously the workaround is you create the phone number and then you transfer it to Regis to use. But, I wasn't that sophisticated at the time, and I wanted a phone number that I could, take with me. So when I interviewed prospective virtual offices, that was one of the questions I asked. So I can't remember who just brought that up to us, but thank you, because that's a huge point that I think needs to be made. When you're looking at a virtual office, what are people not telling you about some kind of contract that you're signing with them?
Yeah, and this is another really good tip for branding as well. So if you have a 1-800 number on your website, it might also make it seem like you're a really big firm, maybe nationwide. So for example, if you're practicing in Orlando but you have clients all over the U.S., you might want to consider getting a 1-800 number so it looks like you're more nationally recognized. And that 1-800 number costs dollars a month. It's really nothing. You can go to ringcentral.com or phone.com to get your number. And then if you're using a shared office like Regis, you could just forward that number directly to the Regis conference line, secretary line. One other really cool tip, if you happen to practice law in, let's say, New York or Florida, you could actually purchase local phone numbers as well for $4 a month from ringcentralphone.com. So you could have a 516 area code for New York or a 305 area code for Miami, and you can put all these numbers on your website so people see, wow, you have multiple offices, multiple numbers. It makes you look a lot bigger as well. This next question comes from Marquette, and this is for Barbara. What's the one biggest tip you have for getting new clients? Would you recommend Avo or FindLaw in the beginning?
I recommend building relationships with people. I mean, I don't know if number one, be careful of getting into a contract. I'm not a fan of FindLaw's website development. I was involved with FindLaw initially, and I got more hits, more contacts to my office by being on part of their list than I did by having them manage my website. So I had gotten into a contract with them and was disappointed, I'm just being honest, with the return on that investment with the website, but I was happy with being on their list. So I can speak to that. Just be careful about what kind of deal people or entities are offering. There's also some places out there that will say, oh, well, if you sign a 3-year contract, then of course each year is going to be substantially less expensive. Well, I say don't sign a year contract for anything until you already know that there's some degree of success in it, or you just have a stack of 20s that you're willing to burn. Because at the end of the day, if you enter into a contract, you have no idea what the return on that investment is, and it could be shit. So, it could be really crappy. So you don't know.
And that's a very good point. Go ahead.
I say take some money that you would then spend on that year-long contract and go take out some of your law school friends to lunch. Obviously I have tremendous bias, like I said, because the majority of my business is referral from my getting to know people in my community. Uh, I, I have a girlfriend who's, the money that I spend going out to eat, she spends on a commercial and and pay-per-click stuff. So
Yep.
she's got this great return on her investment from that. I've got about 20 pounds on her because I'm going out to eat all the time. But I like eating, so small price to pay.
Yep. Yeah, it's true. Everyone has their own ways. And okay, so and just to clarify as well, I've spoken to a lot of attorneys who have gotten locked in. I'm not going to say which companies, from companies that wanted a 3-year contract, 2-year contract for their website and marketing and giving them leads, and they said it was the biggest waste ever. They didn't get any leads. It was terrible. They don't do anything for them. So be very careful what you're signing. Don't get into any long-term agreements. I always recommend trying everything first on a short-term basis and going from there. And if anyone says, oh, there's so much work we have to do up front, though, just let them know. I understand, but I'm happy to sign a 1-year contract if you guarantee results. And if you don't get, and if I don't get the results, then I'm able to get out of that contract. And that's all you got to do. And if they strongly believe they're good enough, they'll agree to that as well. Now, Balaji has a few more questions. Thank you so much. Do we need to get help from marketing and advertising lawyers? Can we send cold emails? So I have 2 things on this point. Cold emails. I don't know the law on cold emails, but I do know that there are a lot of laws from your local bar associations, depending on what state you have, from soliciting clients. So I think that, don't quote me on this, you have to check with your local bar, but if the person reached out to you first, gave you their information, agreed to be on an opt-in list, then you can continually send them emails, only if they agreed and check the box on your website or by phone, they agree to be contacted, yes. Number 2, there's an amazing guy that works out of Orlando, Florida, but he does work nationwide for attorneys. His name is Jason Marsh, M-A-R-S-H. I think his company's called Marsh 8. Marsh 8, there you go. I know Barbara,
number 8.
You know him personally. Yep. So he's amazing. He is a marketing and advertising specialist that only deals with attorneys. So he's very familiar with the ABA rules and laws and ethics opinions. He knows all of that stuff. So speak to him. He can definitely help you out. One thing I took away from one of his seminars one time was that the Florida bar, for example, requires you to submit all of the ads you run on Facebook for approval. And I think it's $100 to submit it. So no one knows that. And if they catch you, they could fine you. You don't want to get a bar complaint. So that's one thing to be aware of. Number 2, thing that he mentioned, I know that a lot of states ban you from saying things like, I am the best attorney in the world. I am this, I am that. You cannot say certain things like that. So be very careful with stuff like that as well. That's my input. Barbara, anything else you want to add?
I think that is brilliant.
Awesome. And yeah, definitely contact Jason Marsh. He'll give you all the answers. Let's see. Next question from Baljeet again. How much time is spent or should be spent marketing on social media and offline? Now, for me, I'm a marketing guy, so I would say if you're not working, if you're not billing hours, if you have nothing else to do, all your time should be spent on marketing. All your time should be spent on prospecting, getting more clients, whether it's online or whether it's Barbara's way, which is a little bit online, but also a lot in person, referrals, networking, taking them out to lunch. So if you're not doing something that can make you money, you should be doing something that can help you eventually make money. That's my take. Barbara?
I think that's true. The only negative is at some point we also need to invest time in building our toolbox of legal prowess and knowledge. But even that, if you think that, ABM always be marketing, ABN always be networking, like when you go to a CLE, like I love people and I'm nerdy. So I love going to CLEs in person because it's kind of like being back in school. And I get to meet the people sitting next to me during the seminar. I get to meet other people during lunch. And so I use that as an opportunity to both gather information to make me a better practitioner, and at the same time perhaps meet some new friends. So I absolutely agree with David that you need to spend as much time as you can networking and marketing, and to that end, that's where we can, when you when you can, delegate out some of the stuff you don't, that you either don't want to do or that you don't have to do. Focus on what you're good at, and part of that is networking. Even if you don't think you're good at it, you get better at it. It's like, you know, exercising a muscle. But, you know, you're the face of the firm. That's crucial for you to be networking. It's more important for you to be out there meeting people than it is for you to be the one designing the flyer for the law firm anniversary party. If you can delegate that out at a reasonable price, do that so you can focus on what you're best at. And again, even if marketing networking is not your strength, you're still the face of your firm, and it's important for you to get out there.
Exactly. Strongly agree. All right, so that wraps it up for questions. If anyone has any more questions after watching this, feel free, really, email any of us, call any of us. We're more than happy to help out. And we want to thank everyone for joining us today on the GoToWebinar and on Facebook Live. Once again, this webinar was recorded, so we will email it to you shortly, or you can watch it on Facebook. And Barbara, you're amazing. Thank you so much again for taking the time to be with us today. I really appreciate it. You're awesome.
You're awesome, and this is probably the most fun I've had this week. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thanks. And yeah, that's it. That's all I got. You guys are fantastic, and I am here to help however I can. Please know that.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. All right, we're ending the webinar now, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Take care.
Bye.